It was August in the Appalachians. Sticky, humming, suffocating August. So explain to me why the hell I ended up standing in front of a car sealed under a coat of frost so thick it crunched under my thumb. White crystals crawled across the windshield in branching veins, shimmering like they were growing. The air around it, just a meter or two, felt like a walk-in freezer. Step closer, breath turns to fog. Step back, warm summer night again. If you'd told me a patch of winter could bloom in the middle of an Appalachian August, I'd have called you crazy. But that's exactly what I saw with my own eyes. But let's not rush. Let me tell you how it really happened. I'm Rick, local tow truck guy, 12 years on the night shift. Usually, it's the same old grind. Dead batteries, blown tires, drunks ditching their cars in dumb places. Grady's Towing is a tiny garage with buzzing lights and a coffee machine that spits out something vaguely brown if you hit it twice. I was half awake, sorting receipts I didn't care about, when my phone buzzed at 3:17 a.m. A woman spoke quickly, almost embarrassed to be calling. "There's a car off the road past mile marker 12, she said. Voice steady, nothing strange, nothing dramatic. Didn't look like anyone was hurt, but someone should check it. Before I could ask anything, she hung up. Just a simple report, nothing else. Still, it stuck with me. People in our town usually stop for each other. The fact she didn't bothered me more than the crash. The drive out was quiet, the kind of quiet where you hear every rattle in the dashboard. The night was warm enough that my shirt clung to my back, and the trees pressed close to the road, their branches arching overhead like they were hiding something behind them. My radio gave nothing but soft static, not unusual for these hills. When I rolled up to mile 12, nothing felt out of place until I stepped out of the truck. The warmth vanished, not gradually, like crossing an invisible line. I took 2 steps toward the ditch, and the air around my ankles turned icy. I breathed out instinctively. A puff of white fog drifted from my mouth. In August, I moved my hand forward. Cold bit the skin. Moved it back. Warmth snapped right back in. A perfect bubble of winter around the crashed sedan. The car itself was a 4-door compact, nose dipped into the grass. Frost crusted the roof, windows, even the tires, sparkling under my flashlight like powdered glass. I crouched beside the driver's window, and my breath fogged the frost into little swirling patterns. Only then did I see someone inside. A young man sat rigid in the driver's seat, 25 maybe. His hair was gray, not dirty blonde, not sun-bleached, gray, like he aged decades in a night. His hands gripped the steering wheel so hard, the skin around his knuckles had cracked. His eyes were open, staring straight ahead. Red, bloodshot beyond anything I'd ever seen. The tiny vessels had burst, tinting the whites a raw, painful pink. And the skin around his eyes, it looked burned, not by heat, by cold. But he was breathing, barely. A thin thread of condensation rose from his lips every few seconds. "Sir, hey, can you hear me?" I tugged at the door handle, frozen solid. My glove stuck to the metal for a split second. He didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't acknowledge me at all. My flashlight flickered. I gave it a shake. It died. Just like that, the world collapsed into dark. The summer air behind me stayed warm. I could feel it on the back of my neck, but the cold around the car wrapped my legs like wet ice. I took a step back, then another, forcing my eyes to adjust to the moonlight. Something in the woods felt attentive, silent but aware. I turned toward my tow truck, just a dim outline up on the road, and started walking. With every step out of that cold bubble, heat rushed back into my fingers, prickling painfully. Halfway up the embankment, something made me stop. A sound, soft, not movement, presence. I turned, and that's when I saw them. Between the trees, behind the crashed sedan, tall, thin silhouettes stood motionless, not shifting, not swaying, just there. Bodies narrow and long, heads smooth and oval, arms dangling low. Dozens of them, all facing me. For a long moment, I couldn't move. I stood halfway up the embankment, staring down at those tall, thin silhouettes between the trees. They didn't advance. They didn't sway. They just watched, unmoving, patient, like they had all the time in the world. The warm August air was still on my back, but everything below the road, the ditch, the frozen car, the grass stiff with frost, felt like a different world entirely. A pocket of winter, a place that shouldn't exist. And inside that pocket, these things waited with a stillness that made my skin crawl. I don't know why I stayed so long looking at them. Maybe I hoped they'd vanish. Maybe I needed to convince myself they were tricks of the dark. But the longer I stared, the clearer they became. Their bodies didn't seem solid, more like shadows shaping themselves into flesh. Their heads were long and smooth, almost reflective, catching the moonlight in unnatural angles. Their arms hung down far too low, the hands just brushing the frozen ground. Finally, one of them shifted. Not a natural movement, more like a ripple traveling down its form, as if someone dragged their fingers along the outline of its body. That broke me free. I backed up toward my tow truck, each step climbing back into warmth, into reality, or what I hoped was reality. When my hand finally grabbed the door handle, I almost sobbed from relief. I swung myself into the cab, slammed the door, and locked it. For a few seconds, I just sat there, gripping the wheel, breathing hard, trying to steady myself. My mind raced, trying to put names to what I'd seen. People? Animals? Something in between? None of it made sense. None of it fit into the world as I knew it. Then I made the mistake of checking the side mirror. The silhouettes were moving, slowly at first, drifting out from the trees, sliding down the slope toward me. Dozens of them, gliding like they were pulled by strings instead of walking. Their movements were smooth, fluid, and absolutely silent. I twisted the key in the ignition. The engine coughed, once, twice, then clicked uselessly. Come on, come on! I slammed my palm against the wheel. The silhouettes crossed halfway into the ditch. I turned the key again. The truck didn't even cough this time. Just a dull, dead click followed by a sinking silence. My breath came out shaky, but it wasn't just fear. The temperature inside the cab was dropping, fast. My exhale drifted into a thin cloud of white vapor. A cold spot formed at the base of my neck, creeping out across my shoulders. I rubbed my hands together, trying to will warmth back into my fingers. But they were already going numb. The windshield frosted at the edges, cracks of ice spreading like veins. I glanced right. A shape loomed in the side mirror, only a few feet behind the truck now. My heartbeat drowned out everything. I twisted the key one more time. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Then a soft thump sounded to my left. I turned my head slowly. A creature stood directly outside the driver's side window. For a moment, neither of us moved. It was taller than I expected. Its head nearly brushed the top of the window frame. Its skin, if it was skin, looked pale, yet shadow-soaked at the same time, like moonlight caught underwater. No eyes, no mouth, no features, just a smooth, impossibly long oval where a face should have been. Then it lifted its hand, long, narrow fingers stretching like roots, and pressed its palm to the glass. The reaction was instant. A bloom of frost exploded outward from under its palm, racing across the entire window in branching spider webs of ice. The pattern crept fast, covering the entire door, then the mirror, then the edge of the windshield. Frost thickened on the inside of the glass too, forming sharp crystalline growths on the dashboard, the vents, the steering wheel column. The cold hit me like a punch. My eyes burned, not from dryness, but from cold so sharp it cut. A pressure built behind them, and a bright, throbbing pain spread outward like something was trying to freeze them from the inside. "Stop, stop," I whispered, but my voice sounded distant. Outside, more silhouettes gathered. Their forms twitched with subtle, shuddering movements, like they were vibrating at a frequency I couldn't hear. And under that vibration, I sensed a sound, soft at first, then rising. A whispering, not directional, not singular, many voices, a rustling, twisting hum that filled the air and threaded into the cab of the truck like smoke. It wrapped around my ears, slipped under my skin, wormed into my bones. I clamped my hands to my head, but the sound only grew clearer. It wasn't words, at least not words I recognized, but the tone was unmistakable, intent, hungry, gathering. The cold deepened. My breath came in short, trembling bursts, each exhale turning into a thick cloud. Frost crawled up the inside of the windshield faster than I could track. The steering wheel stiffened under my hands. The whispering surged into a low, rhythmic gull. Not quite a chant, not quite a groan, but something that felt ancient, mechanical, and alive all at once. Then the creature's palm pressed harder. The frost web thickened into solid white. The window glass groaned. Cracks formed at the edges, sharp spider lines radiating toward the center, like something inside the cold wanted to burst through. My vision blurred, my eyes seared with icy fire. The whispering swelled, and then a blast of white light swallowed everything. No sound, no cold, just a blinding wave that rolled through me, through the truck, through the night itself. Then, silence. Morning. Sheriff Dalton was the first to arrive. He found the ditch first, the little silver sedan, half buried in the grass. The summer sun was rising, warm and golden, spilling over everything, except the car. It was covered in frost, every inch, a thick, stubborn coat of ice that hadn't melted despite the heat. Inside, empty. No footprints around it, no sign of the driver. A few yards up the road sat my tow truck, parked neatly at an angle, like I'd pulled over calmly. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was the frost. The entire interior of the truck, seats, wheel, windows, dashboard, was frozen white. Thick patterns of ice covered the glass from the inside, blooming outward from the driver's side door in curling veins. And the cab was empty. No signs of forced entry. No footprints leading away. Nothing disturbed the dirt except the faintest traces of melted frost, as if I had simply evaporated, as if something cold had taken me, and the warmth of the world hadn't brought me back.
If this story unsettled you, leave a like and let the shadows know. Subscribe for more tales you shouldn't hear after dark. And if you've seen something you can't explain, tell us in the comments. We're always listening.